Hey, Sasha here, and we're just going to wait for a few people to join and then we will start this party. In the meantime, I'm going to start looking at the questions I received that I will be going over today. So we're going to start in just a bit. By the way, if you have any questions that you have not submitted and you would like me to go over them, feel free to write those in the comments area. Awesome. And more people are joining. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. So we have a few people already. So let's go ahead and get this party started. So first question is, where are you? Where are you? Please write in the comments area where you are joining us from. I myself right now am in Taiwan. I've been here a few weeks and I'm going to be here one more week. Well, let's go ahead and let's get started. So, the first question that I received was, what do I do if I find myself stuck when it comes to my weight? Well, the first thing that needs to happen is that you would want to see what might be going on. Because a lot of times, what's happening is that there are certain behaviors or certain things that are happening to where they are blocking you. So, for example, I'll give you a really good example. I found that a lot of women who do not get enough Z's in, they tend to easily gain weight, and it's crazy because a lot of times that's the case, even though they're not eating badly. Like I've had women tell me, Sasha, I'm my eating is on point, but yet I'm gaining weight. I cannot lose the weight. And then when I ask them at what time they're going to bed, they'll say that they're going to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and they're getting up at something like 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and that's not enough sleep. So you always want to take a look and see what might be going on that might be sabotaging your efforts, because a lot of times you can be doing the right things on multiple fronts, but there might be that one piece of the puzzle that you're missing, and that is what is blocking your ability to release the weight and keep it off. Okay, anybody have any questions on that? By the way, if in the background you can hear a little bit of sound, that's only because there's a lot of wind. There's actually a monsoon that's going to be blowing through here today, and what you're hearing is the rattling of the wind that's moving all these windows. So I apologize if it's a little bit loud in the background. Okay, let's go to the next question, and that is, let's see. Yeah, the connection between releasing weight and our bodies. Somebody in particular mentioned that she felt like her body just wanted to latch onto the weight and it just didn't want to come off, that it was just stubbornly on. And so I think that a big part of that has to do with the role that that weight is playing in our lives. So I'll give you an example. For a lot of people, weight is a form of protection. It's a form of padding that keeps us, so to speak, safe. Um, you know, at a subconscious level, there's that part of our mind that always wants to ensure our survival and not our success, and that's why it does such things as sabotage our efforts and make it so that we stay padded. And a lot of times that can be because the mind is trying to protect us, especially if you've experienced trauma or you were physically hurt, such as sexually assaulted. A lot of times the subconscious mind will see having the weight on as a form of protection because it thinks that this way nobody will bother you. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of times our minds see keeping the weight on as a positive, and that's why a lot of times we can get stuck when it comes to losing the weight. So in order to change that situation, we must always rewire the mind, because if you don't rewire the mind, what happens is that your mind wants to create more of the same scenario. It just doesn't know any better. It sees whatever's going on as a positive. So it will just keep wanting to do the same stuff over and over again. Is that making sense to you? So that's why it's so important to do the work, so to speak, and to make it so that your mind is on the same page with what you want. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? If so, feel free to put them in the comments area. Okay, I have another question here. How long does it take to lose weight? So it for every person it's different. I will say that releasing the weight and training the mind to keep it off is a process. And it's not like smoking cessation. I've worked with people to help them with a myriad of different issues. And one of the things that I have found is that anything having to do with eating and weight issues is complex. And that's why you have to have in mind that it's going to be a process. And it's going to be a process not just to get your eating where you need it to be, but to also experience the growth that as a person you need to experience. Because if you haven't been able to do this on your own, it's because something has been missing. And that is what you must give your mind. So that's why it's so important to have in mind that if you are looking to heal eating issues and create weight loss, that it's going to be a process. But the great thing is this, that when you create these changes, it opens up this new possibility for you living full out in life. Not only do you heal your relationship with yourself and boost your self-confidence, but on top of that, you're able to get your eating down to where you're able to shed the weight and keep it off. And when all of that happens, what I found is that it truly impacts people's lives in the most positive of ways, in every way, their personal and professional life. So, some amazing things can happen when you commit to this process and you tell yourself, listen, I'm all in, I'm doing this. And, the payback is the pay. I don't know if that's the right word, but what you get in return. Oh my God, it is just so worth it, and it is really life changing. Okay, those are the three questions that I had. Anybody else have any questions that I can answer? Okay, I think that is it for today. Well, I thank you for joining me and for participating and submitting your questions. And I plan on continuing to do these lives. So this way I can really connect with you and I can support you um, in your endeavors and help you to heal those eating issues that have been sabotaging you and help you create the weight loss. Oh, I have a few more people that have now joined. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments area. I just went over a few, and but if you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to. Hold on a quick sec. Somebody's asking me if I'm seeing their questions. Oh, okay. So, how does a single woman actually start to open herself to love? The first thing a single woman needs to do is to get past her limiting beliefs. Because if something isn't happening in your life, it's not happening for a reason. And that is because your mind sees things a certain way. So, regardless of whether we realize it or not, we all have these lenses on us. And depending on the kind of lens that you have on, that is how you will see the world. So, for example, a lot of women will tell themselves that there are no good guys out there. So, guess what? That is what they see left and right. Years ago, I I hypnotized a woman. I worked with a woman who had this big block when it came to love, and she told me, Sasha, I feel like love is for everybody else except for me. I feel like the plane, the train, everything has left me, and I'm just blocked when it comes to love. But I know that if you help me unblock myself, I know that I'm going to have love in my life. And I know this is going to work for me. So the great thing was that she realized that she was blocked and blocked off to love. And the wonderful thing is that she put in the work, she put in the effort. And the hilarious thing is that the man that she ended up with was it was amazing how much he was exactly what she had wanted. It was like she had completely manifested him. And so, one of the things that we all need to do is be able um, to see what is blocking us and be able to eliminate that. So this way we can unblock ourselves. And so, any single woman who feels blocked off from love must unblock herself by eliminating those limiting beliefs, by eliminating what's holding her back, be it beliefs about love, beliefs about her weight, whatever it is, it needs to be removed. So I'll give you a really good example. Kindra, a dating app, they did a study and they found that a lot of women are actually very, very picky when it comes to online dating. Now, what does that tell you? If a lot of women are very picky when it comes to online dating, then what's probably happening is that a lot of these women are probably projecting how they feel about their weight on other people. Now, interesting enough, they found that guys are not as picky as women. But you see, if we have the filters on where we think, oh, I've got too much weight on me, nobody's going to be interested in me, then guess what? That holds you back. So it's that kind of stuff that we need to eliminate and we need to get out of our own way. And this way, for example, if you're a single woman, you're able to really open yourself to love and create this new reality. And see, let me see here. Okay, so the next question is um, somebody asked, I have a thought that relationships just happen organically and I don't really have any control over it. How could I start to reframe this way of thinking? Okay, so just happen organically. I think the most important thing for somebody who feels like it should just happen on its own is to realize how much you've probably been closing yourself off. So I'll give you a real example. A lot of times, a person who is of the attitude that, oh, you know what, it should just happen on their own, doesn't realize that they're also not creating the possibility of meeting someone. So, for example, if you're not going out, if you're not being social, if you're not putting yourself out there, then you are lessening the chances of something happening to where you are able to meet somebody. So a lot of times we don't realize this, but a lot of times we hold ourselves back from love. We keep ourselves from it because what happens? We go from where we live to where we work, and then a lot of times back. And it's like, how are you ever going to meet somebody? You have to look at what you're doing that might be closing you off to meeting somebody, and realize that that is actually impeding you, that's actually blocking you. So for those of you that are thinking, oh, it should just happen organically, will realize that how could it possibly happen organically if you're actually blocking yourself off? In other parts of the world, people are a lot more social. They're a lot more uh, they have a lot more connections, and because of that, they're happier people. So in the same way, we need to learn to have those connections, to build those connections, and to connect with other human beings however we can, and be of the mindset that the more proactive we are, the higher the chances of something good happening. I hope I answered that question. Okay, what is the single biggest thing I can do to start losing weight? Getting your eating, actually, let me go back to that. What is the single biggest thing I can do to start losing weight? Believe it or not, it's not the food. You might be thinking, well, I have to get my food on check, on point. I've got to start eating a specific way. That's how I'm going to do it. But actually, that's, that's putting, the cart before the horse, so to speak. What you really need to do is focus on rewiring your mind. So this way you naturally start to have the habits that are going to lead to you losing the weight. If you try to eat healthy for just a bit. So, for example, if you try to diet, what will happen is that it will only last for so long. So, focusing on just eating right to lose weight is not enough in the long run. You must rewire your mind. And only then will you be able to create the healthy lifestyle that it takes to release the weight and keep it off. Okay, we have another question. What are some baby steps I can take to start to rewire my mind? Honestly, the best thing to do is to work with somebody who can help you to rewire your mind at that deep level, and it's better to work with somebody. So I'll give you an example. I've worked with thousands of people to do exactly that, and I've been able to help them get to where they need to get to in order to heal eating issues and create the weight loss that they've been wanting. uh, Doing it on your own, my God, it would, a lot of times, like, you know when we attempt to do things on our own, there's this trial and error. And I know for me, it took the longest time to figure these things out. So working with somebody who knows the process and knows exactly what you need is just the smarter, wiser way of doing it. Otherwise, it's like, are you going to waste more time? If there's, one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older is that time is valuable, which is why you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who has the knowledge you need and that has the process that you need, the tools that you need. This way you can release the weight and keep it off and do it in a much shorter time. What's involved when I work with somebody to rewire my mind? Well, that involves tapping into the subconscious mind and making changes there. Because you see, our mind is used to us going on these pathways where we think the same stuff, we do the same stuff over and over again. We don't realize it, but our subconscious mind is focused on doing the same stuff repeatedly over and over again. And a lot of times, you've experienced this. A lot of times you find yourself automatically doing that stuff over and over again, and you're not even thinking of it. It just happens. And then later on you're thinking, why did I just do that? That goes against everything that I'm trying to do here. That is the reason why we need to rewire the mind at the subconscious mind. By rewiring the mind at the subconscious mind, you stand to make it so that those patterns start becoming automatic, those positive patterns. Without that, everything you do is just temporary. That's why it's so important to, you know, work with somebody who understands what it takes to rewire the mind and is able to really lead you in the right direction. Awesome. Let's see. One more question from the group. How does one actually start to mentally and emotionally open to love? Okay, so we have another question here. How does one actually start to mentally and emotionally open to love? The first thing is that you must work on whatever stopped you from being open to love. So whatever it was that made it so that you started to have this barrier, that is what you need to work on. And usually that is some form of trauma that you experienced. So for example, somebody who was cheated on by a partner that she was absolutely in love with, maybe she was cheated on a few times, she might be so blocked off from love because her mind is thinking there are no good guys out there and I'm not going to let that happen to me again. And so in situations like those, until that person unblocks themselves, then they're always going to find themselves closed off to love, which is a shame because there are some amazing people out there. And I really do believe that there is more than one possibility for love for each and every single person. So the first thing you want to do if you feel that you're closed off to love is work on healing whatever it is that is blocking you from love. That past trauma has to be healed. So you heal that past trauma, and you'll find that you're able to create this new possibility where your mind is open to love and you can see yourself getting what you want and need in a partnership. Let me see here. Okay, so we have another question here. I've heard you talk about trauma related self sabotage. Can you say a bit more about that? Yes. Let's talk a little bit about trauma related self sabotage. Um, a lot of times we don't realize this, but the trauma that we experienced, especially as kids, it leaves a dent on us. And if we haven't healed that stuff, what happens is that it plays a role in our present lives in the sense that a lot of times it causes us to sabotage ourselves. So I'll give you a really good example. As a child, I was really verbally abused and I did not have a good self confidence. I didn't even know what a self confidence was. And what I found was that as a young adult, I would put myself in situations that didn't honor me. And that had everything to do with how I was raised. I didn't have a high self esteem. If I would have been raised to have a high self confidence and high self esteem, I would have behaved differently. Understand that how we behave is a function of everything we've experienced, including past trauma. That is why it's really important to heal past trauma, heal those wounds, and only that way will you be able to be 100% in the present, able to do things the way you want to. And by creating that opening, you're able to make it so that you're able to have healthy relationships, you're able to succeed in life, and make it so that you live a life that you are happy to live. How do I find the right person to work with to rewire my mind? Well, I think the most important thing is that you feel a connection with that person. I have found that when there's a good connection between you and the person that you are working with, magic happens. Because I'll explain. I have found myself as being that person who has facilitated and helped people navigate their minds. One of the things that I have found is that when you connect with a person, this flow just starts to happen. And it's almost as though somebody's whispering in your ear saying, tell her this, tell her that. So it makes a big difference when you have a strong connection with a person, because I feel like you are being divinely led to work with that person and help that person. So that's why it's so important that you do research, look around, and just go with whatever comes to you. Allow your spidey sense to guide you, because that's the most important thing. That you feel that connection, that it feels right. Everything else will come together. Do we have any other questions, guys? If so, feel free to submit in the comments area. Can you explain how you see emotional eating pop up? Yes. Let's go over one of the most common issues that I notice when it comes to emotional eating, and that is work related stress. I have found that a lot of people, in particular, a lot of women, when they experience a lot of stress, they can be on point with their eating all day long, because they'll be so busy that they don't even have time to think or to process emotions or anything like that, and they don't a lot of times even make time to eat. But what happens is that when they get home, the floodgate of emotions just opens up, and what transpires is that even after they've eaten their dinner, they just keep eating, eating and eating and eating. And a lot of times they're so stressed out, they want to unwind. They want to unwind in front of a TV screen. And that's when they start doing emotional eating, where they are totally checked out and just eating for the sake of eating. It's not that they need the nutrition at this point, because they've already had their dinner. It's just that they're snacking on things that make them feel good, such as chocolates, cookies, things like cupcakes, ice cream. And so and it's all the stuff that then sabotages their efforts to lose the weight and keep it off. And that's why it's so important that we look at our emotional eating patterns, so that we can heal those and make sure that we're not sabotaging ourselves. And I think that healing, um, our perception of work and the role that it has in our lives, I think that that's actually a really big one, that is pivotal when it comes to ending emotional eating at night. You've got to realize what it's doing to you, and get to that point where you're gonna absolutely make it so that stress eating due to work isn't something that's going to continue to sabotage you. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, I am so happy that you joined me. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you who have done this live with me. I appreciate you for submitting your questions. And the great thing is that I'm going to be doing more of these. And if you have any particular questions or comments or anything, reach out to me. I'm accessible. I'm here. Okay. Reach out to me however you want to. You can email, you can send me a message on Facebook through Facebook Messenger. You can also send me a message through YouTube, Instagram, however you want to do it. It's totally fine. Okay. I am here for you. And I really look forward to helping you take yourself to that next level. All right, guys, have a wonderful night.